Welcome to the CAT assistance video that I'm recording for the Junior STEM program. This is some hints on how to use VEX VR to accomplish the tasks set out in the colony assembly task. So what we have is 5 levels of difficulty. The idea is to get through as many as you can inside the time that's given to you. You need to provide us programs for all of the levels that you accomplish. So what you'll need to do is you will need to, when you've got your code, you'll have your code up here, and then you'll have your playground down here, and what you will do is you will run your code and you will show us what's being accomplished by your code. Now, ideally what you'll need to do is you will need to make sure that the pen is visible. All right, and the way we do that is by looking under looks and we move the pen down, all right, because the robot has a little pen on the top of it. And if you move it up or down, it'll determine whether it's writing on it. So if we look at our robot here, there's our pen there. So when I start the program, that pen will slide down into place and it will start making a mark on the page. All right. So generally all your code should have that on there so that when you have finished running your code, you can take a screenshot of your code and a screenshot of what your code has drawn and then submit that as part of it. All right, so you can use Windows Shift S on a PC. Mac users, I'm sure you'll just have to Google that because I don't know off the top of my head. All right, so the first part of the code is to draw a perimeter around your Mars base. All right, and thankfully, because of the way the grid map is set up, is that you can't fall off the map. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to find a way to get the robot to drive from here, up to here, across to here, down here, and then back to the start. All right, so there are a couple of blocks that you're definitely going to need to use. You're definitely going to need to use the turn right function, and you're definitely going to need to use the drive forward function. Now, how you go about doing that is up to you. But I think it's fairly obvious that if I only live at 200 millimeters, it's not going to be far enough. All right, this entire thing is 1,000 by 1,000. All right, so you're going to need to fiddle with the numbers here to make sure that it goes right to the end, turns right, and keeps going. All right, now, obviously you're going to have to do that a certain number of times. All right, and you can look under the control button and you find all these lovely yellow blocks here. And what you'll probably want to look for is the repeat block. And that will tell you how many times to repeat the block that is inside. All right, so that is the first level, which is security. Drawing a perimeter around your base so that we know where we need to put up our wind shields or our dust shields or to place weather sensors so that we can sense whether a storm is coming or not. All right, so level 2 is a little bit different. We need to move into the disk mover platform. So disk mover down. So if you tap on group map, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, number 7 down, and it looks something like this. All right, so this is disk mover, and the goal is to, so think of this as this is inside your ship. These are your building supplies that you will need to get. You need to take the pods containing your supplies out of the bricks, out of the blocks, and put them into the appropriate location to then distribute to your fellow colonists. So, to pick these discs up, you need to activate the magnet, which is down here. So it says energize magnet to boost or drop. So what we need to do is when we drive over our blocks, we then need to energize the magnet to boost to pick it up. Then we need to turn around, come back, and then drop it, and then keep moving and going to get the other one. So the idea is that you will get all the blues and put them in blue, all the reds, put them in red, and all the greens and put them in the green. All right, so to do that, first things first, we will make sure that our pen is set there. So what I'm going to do is I am going to drive forward, and I'm going to guess that I need 400 millimeters. And then I'm going to set the magnet to boost. I'm going to then turn right for 180 degrees. Drive forward for 400. Energize to drop. Turn right for 180. So turn back forward and then move away. So just so we can see whether or not this works. So press start. Not quite. So that's 400. So now what I need to do is I need to go through and I need to change 400 to 800. All right, so I'll reset and I'll run again. And let's see what happens. Didn't quite pick that one up, did it? So maybe we've overshot it. So what we should do is we should pay close attention to what's happening here. All right, so if we reset and play the code, when the eye, did you see it there? When it got over the eye, it's detected what's going on. So we need to figure out how far that needed to go before it detected it. So let's try 700. Not quite. All right. So it's detecting what's going on. It even shoved it a little bit. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to refine this a bit further. Now, the best way to go about this is to start using the sensors. All right. So your sensors have a lot of fantastic things in here. So for example, eye sensing. If the down eye detects blue, what should it do? All right. So up in the code, you've got these blocks here. If you notice, these blocks have triangular edges to them. And what happens is if I have a triangular hole, I can insert any of these triangular blocks. So in this case here, if down eye detects blue, you'll notice that it's snapped together and now it's one whole block. What I can then do is put code inside. So I'm going to take this energized magnet and now what I'm going to do is put all this code inside here, and I'm just gonna have so now let's try this and see what happens. Funny that. All So if down eye detects blue, energize the magnet. So I figured out what the problem with the code is, and the problem is that when you are doing these drive codes, is that what you need to do is you need to put them inside a forever loop. All right, because otherwise what's happening is forever means it's driving forward, but it's also checking the down arrow. So if I now try this new code here, it'll drive forward, the blue's triggered, and then it runs the code on the inside. And you can see what's happening here. Driving back and forward. Whoop. Now the problem is that it's running this code exactly the same every single time it detects blue. And as you can see, it hasn't quite taken the pucks all the way. So, and now it's going to try and, yep, there you go, flipped up. It's, as you can see, not going anywhere right now. So, I've given you a starting point for how to do this task. It is your job to keep going and to finish it. All right. Now, the last level that people are going to mostly work with is what's called disk maze. And what you are going to need to do is you are going to need to plot a path through this maze. And you will definitely need to use the color sensors to do that. All right. So I have some green plugs. So let's zoom in and have a look and see what we've got here. We have these green squares with a green disc in front. We have some blue squares with some blue discs in front. So your goal will be to navigate the maze and somehow get it to go from here to here, but you have to hit every single one of these pages, of these pucks. So what you should notice is that if you were to use your mouse to plot a path through this maze, what do you notice about the path that I have just done there and all the green squares and all the blue squares? What happens at a blue square and what happens at a green square? That should help you set up your color sensors so that when you detect a particular color, you know which way to turn. All right. The other thing that you are asked to do when you are completing disk maze is to use the information around you and report back to the main person on the thing. So if let's get some new code. And using my serial monitor by pressing this little gauge here, it brings up this lovely window in here. And what that does is I can tell it to print something. And when I tell it to print something and I run my code, it pops up in here. So as I'm running my code, I can get the robot to tell me and feed back to me where it is. All right. So the instructions specifically are that we are on Mars and we need to set up some transport loops. So we need to be able to take our robot to go from here and drop off supplies at all the different stations before going to the red station, and then ideally go backwards. All right. You are at Central Command. Your robot will need to be able to report to you, hey, I visited this green base. I visited this blue base. All right. And it will mark the journey out with the pen. So you'll need to do some print commands and you will need to do some pen commands. All right. So that will start with robot pen. Again, this is under looks. These are purple blocks. So the robot should drive forward and it should do some detection work. So let's start you off by setting up a forever loop. And we're going to have it just drive forward forever. And what I'm then going to do is say if the down eye detects green, I want it to turn right 90 degrees. And what I also want it to do is speak to me and communicate with me. So I'm going to go into the looks and I'm going to, for example, replace print hello with turning right. All right, and now if I run this code, hopefully what should happen is I press start, the robot will drive forward, it will tell me it's turned right and keep going. All right, so now your job will be to keep that conversation going with all the different bits of code. All right, so what you can do is put another one in there, and instead of down eye detects green, maybe you want to have down eye detects blue instead. All right, so that's the start. All right, and that will start you off. The last challenge, however, is particularly devious. So, if you've previously been building robots to secure, construct, and explore your environment, you now need to demonstrate an ability to master Mars. All right, using all of the sensors and all of the tools at your disposal. Let's have a look at the playground that you'll be on. All right, so this is Dynamic Castle Crasher. Every single time I refresh this, all the blocks move. And if you hit the blocks, they will start wobbling and things will start falling over. Think of this as your finished Mars base. You do not want to run into anything and destroy your base. You destroy the base, you die. So, you will need to start using other sensors to help detect what's going on. So, you should look at this sensor here, the front eye, because remember our robot friend has an eye on the front and an eye on the bottom. And through that should help you navigate your environment. You also have these little bumper sensors on the side. So that if you hit something, it will respond and it will register up here saying true. The other thing that's special at this map is that it's surrounded by this red barrier. Think of that as the safe area of your Mars base. If you go over it, your robot will stop working and you will no longer be able to communicate with it. In the simulation, it falls off the map. And we don't want it to fall off the map. So, your job will be to drive around this base for as long as possible without hitting anything, without falling off the map, but it should be able to navigate most of the obstacles and patrol the area and really have a better idea. Think of this as a much more refined way of doing deliveries to the different parts of your base. All right, the disc maze that you did in level 3, it's always in the same place. This is always a little different. All right, so hopefully this helped, and hopefully that you will be able to engage with this and do your best to show us all the awesome learning that you've done over the last 6 to 8 weeks.